Jenny Ray, the Managing Director of Management Consulted, and I'm here today to talk about 8 consulting fit categories that are essential to know about when you're preparing for the fit interview. I've already said that preparing for the fit interview is really critical, and these categories should highlight why, because there are a lot of different stories that you can select, but picking those that will be strategic to show off your best traits in the interview are really important. So let's get started. In the 8 categories, I've broken them into 2 parts. The first are story questions. These questions are questions that need to be responded to with answers that tell a story. So you should answer them with, let me illustrate that by telling a story. Let me explain a time when. Let me talk about a time when I went through this example. So I'm going to highlight 4 key areas of story questions and just give some really brief examples. The first type of story question are experiences from your resume. McKinsey does a deep dive for this. They call it the personal experience interview, and they will ask you, or you will get to select either one experience on the resume. They'll spend an entire 20 to 30 minutes on it with 10 to 20 questions, and the questions will be incredibly probing, all the way down to the details of what you were thinking when you made certain decisions. That's one of the reasons why it's really critical to prepare for the fit interview, especially in the McKinsey environment. But even for other interviews, it's paramount that you understand everything that's on your resume. You can't forget something, you need to know the data, and you also need to know every single detail that's on there. When you're asked to talk about an experience on your resume, you want to tell a story about it. So it's really important that you know what's on there, as well as all the facts that are included. The second part of the story questions are teamwork, leadership, and people management questions. For teamwork, leadership, and people management, it's important that they understand that you can work under people, with people, and above people, and that you can work with anyone in any environment facing any challenge. It's really critical for consulting because you're going to be rotating on teams constantly, and every team has to be high performing. So it's really important that you're able to tell stories about times that you worked with people, worked under people, and worked over people when you face challenges or conflicts and how you resolved those. This often constitutes the bulk of consulting interviews because it's such an important piece of what they're looking for. The third type of story question are education and school questions. Consultants aren't just interested in the experiences that have shaped you, they're interested in people who are consistently excellent, consistently amazing. And if you are going to be amazing in your work experiences, that's one thing. If you're also amazing in an academic or a school environment, that's another. They want to see not only that you were strong in the classroom, which is important, but that you were strong because you were intellectually curious. They also want to understand that outside of the classroom, you were very oriented on leadership and involvement. So you need to be demonstrating activities and also teamwork in extracurricular environments, even if your educational experience is 5 to 10 years in your history. The final type of story questions that are really important to know about are ethics and integrity questions. Ethics and integrity are important because in a post-Enron society, it's critical for people to know that you are able to be trustworthy, to handle data, and to handle good judgment when you have situations that are gray areas. A lot of the time, you'll have situations where there isn't a right or a wrong answer. They want to know what code of conduct is leading you and how you manage not only the right or the wrong, but also people's feelings and emotions in the process. Alongside story questions, there are a second category, which I call curveball questions. It's kind of funny with the name curveball questions, but the important thing for curveball questions is to hit them with straight answers. So even though they're coming at you with a curve, you need to make sure that you are addressing the issues directly. There are 4 key types of curveball questions that I've laid out here. The first are general business and current events questions. This could be anything from essentially a quiz about what was on the front page of the Wall Street Journal that day or the day before, or there could be something about your opinion about key legislation or a key trend in the economy. It's important to have a general sense of some important current events that are in business, as well as some of your favorite companies so that you can have opinions about them and be able to talk intelligently. The next type of curveball question are strengths and weaknesses. You can pretty much anticipate that at some point in the consulting process, you're going to get a question that's needed to respond to in this way, but it's important that, again, you answer straightforward with quick illustrations. You don't want to tell big stories about strengths and weaknesses. The third type of curveball questions are return offers. Firms will ask you plainly who you're interviewing with and who you already have offers from. You don't need to discuss financial information. You don't really need to discuss the particulars, but it is beneficial to be dynamic and straightforward when you're talking about this. There are a lot of nuances about how you shouldn't answer it, but one of them isn't to just not talk about it. You need to address the question in a proactive way and be prepared for what you'll say in every interview. And then finally, the fourth thing is that where you see yourself in 5 years. Where you see yourself in 5 years is an important question for the consulting firms. However, it's not meant to be answered with, I see myself in consulting. It's kind of a lame answer. What they're interested in understanding is what are the options that you're currently considering and how does consulting play into the next 5 years in terms of shaping some of your aspirations for your future. When you're going through the process of preparing for consulting fit interviews, there are a couple of things that are really critical to keep in mind, regardless of whether you're telling story questions or answering curveball questions. And here's how it's going to work. I'm going to lay it out for you. The first thing is that you need to be constructing 30-second to 1-minute responses. This just reinforces that it's critical for you to actually prepare for the consulting fit interview because it's not natural for us to tell stories in 30-second to 1-minute sound bites. It's important for you to understand what you're going to say and how you're going to say it. Next, you want to make sure that you're using summaries and structure. Summaries and structure are helpful for consultants. They have ADD. Sometimes they tune out while you're talking. They're not meaning to be rude, but you can be very polite to them by just adding something at the end of the process or adding something even at the beginning that highlights if you're using structure. If you're using structure, you don't want to be too forced, however. So the next point is related to that. If it's something that you have taken the time to prepare for, we're going to go through a couple of these questions in detail in future sessions. If you have taken time to prepare for it, you want to just give quick introductions and just let them know that you've thought about something for a long time or you recognize that this is an important question. You want to soften the hardcore structure at the beginning so it doesn't sound like you're a structured robot. The next thing that's important to know is that it's important for you to smile. People who are enjoying themselves in the fit interview are immensely more fun to interview. So it's really critical that you smile in the process of preparing for the fit interview. And finally, probably most importantly, be yourself. When you're going through the fit interview process, it's a two-way street. You are assessing your fit with the firm. Hopefully you'll receive multiple offers. They're also assessing your fit with them. And so it's important for you to enjoy yourself and really bring your personality and your flavor to the table so that you can get a clear assessment about whether you're going to be a great fit at the firm and so that they can get a clear read on you. We hope that you've enjoyed this session on consulting fit interviews. We've got a ton of information in our Consulting Interview Bible and also a lot more on our website at managementconsulted.com.